This morning I went out to feed my horses and I caught my hand on a rail, and oh my goodness, did that sting. And as I've been going through my day today, that sting kept coming back. And it brought back a memory to me. This is a vulnerable memory that I'm going to share with you today, but it was really a pivotal time in my life. And that's why I'd like to share it with you. At the tender age of 14, I experienced abuse. And in my early adult life, I experienced memories being triggered. They were stinging, painful memories I had not been aware of before. As a result, I found myself swirling in such incredible shame. I just wanted to stay in bed and hide forever. Well, fast forward several years, and an amazing thing occurred. The horse of my youth came to me in a dream and reminded me that I was not alone. I felt hopeful receiving this message, and I trusted that just as the horses had nurtured me when I was young, horses were calling to me to trust them again and to receive the energy to move forward in my life. So here, how do we begin to heal our inner wounds? And how is it possible to begin to feel the pain of the past without falling into overwhelm? How do we hold on to hope? When our hurt was created interpersonally, our healing must be also. And for that, we can receive the supportive gifts of presence and wisdom from other mammals, including horses. Let me share a story with you of a session I had with a majestic black horse. Before moving to the arena, I saw what's known as an opportunity course. It had been set up with 6 stations, and these stations would represent different aspects of my life journey. So I numbered on a piece of paper 6 parts of what my younger self had needed support in order to face something or to develop something. So I just wrote one word, but I needed support to face my frozenness. I needed support to face my fear, my shame, and my doubt. And I needed support in order to develop my capacity for self-protection and self-confidence. So I wrote those down, folded them up, and tucked them into my back pocket, setting my intention to trust on a subconscious level. So I was ordered to get really clear about my intention before stepping into the arena. And my intention was to consciously stay present with my younger felt sense of self and my horse, while mindfully noticing any subtle sensations of energy in my body. This allowed me to experience compassionate accompaniment and to invite each part of my experience to integrate into the wholeness that is me now. The authentic voice that supported and empowered me was, I am present, accompanied, and whole now. So stepping into the arena, I took a moment to mindfully breathe, giving my lungs room to expand and time to stand still. As I smiled and nodded my readiness, the horse handler handed me the lead rope. I looked into my horse's eyes and shared with him my intention, asking him if he would be willing to accompany me. Surprisingly, he began yawning with his mouth wide open, and his eyes rolled back in his head at the same time, and he did this repeatedly. I felt tension in my lower belly unravel as his nose drew close to my root chakra, which is survival. And he breathed deep and snorted. Next, his nose rested at my second chakra, right below my belly button, which is unconscious creativity. Then he shifted to my third chakra, which is the solar plex, is personal power, before moving on up to my heart space, where there's love. I felt a huge shift as my whole sense of self relaxed and softened into trust, being seen, acknowledged, and understood completely. And again, he yawned, rolled his eyes, and ended with a long snort. So as we moved through the stations, I was checked in with, they asking, where are you in your body? What are you feeling? Noticing, what am I telling myself? And I was often invited to take a breath, a cleansing breath. And at each station, there were just incredible revelations. And those revelations continue to unfold even now. As I stood with my horse in that last station, I paused to reflect on my journey with horse accompanying me. I pulled that piece of paper from the back pocket to identify which station had represented which aspect. Well, it was still really fresh, and I was still standing in that field of my life. And I felt a real tingle of awe course through my body as I deepened into understanding my experience that I had at each of the stations with horse. The first station was a jump. I'd written down frozen. My horse deliberately used his hoof to remove the pole. He took out the barrier. There is no barrier any longer. I felt surprise and delight in my belly. The second were where the cones were, to weave through them. I'd written doubt. Halfway through that course, I paused with my horse and I named that my knees had started to tremble, and a spike of panic zinged up the back of my neck and head. I was needing trust and support and presence. And immediately I was immersed in calm. I expressed gratitude to my horse for his companionship. The third was, I'd written self-confidence, and it was a blue tarp to walk over. My horse had nosed the tarp and then used his hoof to paw at it. I felt really curious, open in my heart, and I wondered what was unfolding. As he moved the tarp, it exposed some grass underneath, and I was inspired to perceive the tarp as emotions. When I stay curious and present to the sensations and emotions within me, they reveal the beauty of the needs that lay underneath them, and I am empowered to move through them. The fourth, I had written shame, and that was a jump. My horse stopped in front of the jump, and with one swift movement, he pulled the pole down with his hoof, and he kept his hoof on the pole, moving it to be perpendicular between the two posts. As I witnessed this, I felt the profound relief of lightness in my temples. And the pole became, between the two posts, it symbolized the reorganization of the two hemispheres, because shame can only thrive in hiding. And number 5, I had written self-protection. And that was a great big ball, really huge ball that horses like to play with. And I had invited my horse to move the ball, which he did with his nose. Following the ball, I invited more movement and felt playful bubbles of delight move up from my belly all the way to my face. He moved it with his nose, and then he began using his hoof. He kicked it up against another, what am I calling him? He moved it to this next obstacle or part of the course, which was a big square of wood. And the square represented fear. So it kicked up against fear, and then he pushed it with his nose and he moved it far over across the tarp. And the tarp, remember, was self-confidence. And then it went to rest on the other side of it. And so when I can play, I really know I am safe and I'm open to discovery. And that is self-protection. So when 6 was the fear, it was the big square, and that's where I was standing as I was reflecting over all of this. And standing there beside my horse, we turned to face each direction, east, north, west, and south. And I felt confident, open-hearted, and complete awe. There was no fear there. During my debrief, I had noticed there were wasps buzzing around, and I'd noticed a few of them moving through the course too, and I wondered who they represented. And in an instant, I recognized them as the others in my life that used to terrify me with their ability to sting me, to inflict their painful venom into my body. And I also recognized they no longer hold that power over me. As I'm moving through this life and I sense the subtle sensations of fear and shame or doubt as they begin to emerge, I remember my horse accompanies me. And I will remember I'm not alone. I have self-protection, and I am empowered with self-confidence to be who I am, me. I love me. I remember I noticed my heart expanded with warmth, and my eyes took in the environment with more color and hue, and my horse snorted in agreement. Life shows up differently as I continue to discover the subtleties around how to listen to my heart. Life is for me. Life is me. Through ongoing nonverbal connection with horses and the accompaniment of somatic empathy, we can begin to regain trust and restore our whole sense of self. And when we listen, learn to listen to the involuntary physical responses, which contains our body's wisdom in its earliest stage, we can begin to experience all emotions as energy in motion. We can receive these visceral signals as the energy and information flow that they are, and begin laying down new neural pathways to peace. And this opens up the possibility of restoring our ability to remain open, interested, and curious about anything and everything once again. So, what stings you in your life? Or what has stung you in the past? And most importantly, where do you receive accompaniment to regain trust and restore your whole sense of self?